My beloved brother and sister, let me speak today to a woman who feels alone. A woman who looks at her phone and sees no missed calls. A woman who watches others laugh together and wonders quietly, why not me? My dear sister, listen to this carefully. Being alone does not mean you are unloved. Sometimes Allah removes people from our lives not as a punishment, but as a protection. Not because you are unworthy, but because your heart is too pure for the wrong company. You see, not every empty space is a loss. Some spaces are cleared so that peace can enter. Some silences are created so that you can finally hear Allah speaking to your heart. A woman with no friends often thinks something is wrong with her, but maybe, just maybe, Allah is saving her from gossip, jealousy, betrayal, and distractions that would pull her away from Him. Remember this, not everyone who laughs with you is good for you, and not everyone who leaves you was meant to stay. When you walk alone, you walk with clarity. When you are quiet, your heart becomes louder. And when you have no one to lean on, you learn to lean on Allah. And what a beautiful place that is. Allah sees you when you cry at night. He hears the du'as you don't say out loud. He knows the weight you carry silently while smiling for the world. And let me tell you something powerful. A woman who finds comfort in Allah will never truly be lonely. People may come later. Good people, sincere people. But before that, Allah wants you to know your worth without depending on anyone's presence. So don't rush friendships. Don't beg for attention. Don't chase people who don't choose you. Choose Allah and watch how He sends the right souls into your life at the right time. Until then, walk with dignity. Pray with sincerity. Trust His timing. Because sometimes the woman with no friends is the woman Allah is preparing for something greater. And Allah knows best. Loneliness often feels heavy because the heart immediately assumes it means rejection, abandonment, or punishment. But in reality, loneliness is not a sign that Allah has turned away from you. Sometimes it is the clearest sign that He is turning you toward Him. When people walk away, when conversations fade, when invitations stop coming, the heart naturally asks, what did I do wrong? But the better question is, what is Allah protecting me from? Because not every absence is a loss. Some absences are divine mercy disguised as emptiness. There are moments in life when Allah removes the noise so you can hear the truth. When you are constantly surrounded by people, opinions, and expectations, your heart becomes distracted. You begin to measure your worth by how many people need you, approve of you, or include you. But when Allah places you in solitude, He removes those false measurements. He gently reminds you that your value does not come from people. It comes from Him. And that is a powerful realization. Loneliness does not mean Allah has abandoned you. In fact, many of the strongest believers experienced isolation before they experienced elevation. It is in loneliness that sincerity grows. It is in quiet moments that prayers become deeper. It is when no one else is watching that the heart turns most honestly to Allah. You begin to speak to Him not with polished words, but with raw emotion. And Allah loves that. He loves the servant who comes to Him broken, confused, and searching. Sometimes Allah distances people from you because their presence would have delayed your growth. Sometimes He removes certain friendships because they would have drained your energy, weakened your faith, or distracted you from your purpose. What feels like rejection is often redirection. What feels like loss is often protection. Allah sees what you cannot see, and He knows who truly belongs in your journey. Loneliness also teaches strength. It teaches you how to sit with yourself, how to reflect, how to heal, and how to rely on Allah instead of people. You begin to realize that peace does not come from constant companionship, but from contentment with Allah's decree. And once you reach that level of trust, you stop fearing being alone. So if you are in a season where your circle is small or non-existent, do not panic. Do not feel ashamed. This may be the season where Allah is building you quietly. A season where He is strengthening your heart, refining your character, and preparing you for better relationships ahead. Because when Allah removes people, He does so with wisdom. And when He brings new ones, they come with purpose. Remember this always, you are never truly alone when Allah is with you. And if Allah is with you, you already have everything you need. True companionship begins with Allah because every other connection in your life is temporary, limited, and dependent on circumstances. People change, hearts shift, priorities evolve, and sometimes even the closest relationships fade without warning. But Allah never changes. He never grows tired of listening, never gets busy, never misunderstands your pain, and never turns you away when you call upon Him sincerely. When you build your sense of companionship on people alone, you will eventually feel disappointed. But when you build it on Allah, you discover a peace that remains steady through every season of life. Many people search for friendship to fill an emptiness in their hearts, not realizing that the heart was created to be filled by its Creator first. When that space is filled with the remembrance of Allah, the heart becomes calm, grounded, and whole. Then relationships stop being a desperate need and become a beautiful addition. You no longer cling to people out of fear of loneliness because you already feel complete with Allah by your side. There is something deeply comforting about knowing that no matter where you are, no matter what time it is, you can turn to Allah and speak freely. You don't need an appointment. You don't need permission. You don't need to explain yourself. You can cry, complain, whisper, or stay silent, and He understands it all. That kind of companionship heals parts of the heart that no human ever could. When you develop a strong connection with Allah, you also begin to see people differently. You stop expecting them to fulfill roles only Allah can fulfill. You stop being crushed by their absence or hurt by their limitations. You understand that people are human, imperfect, distracted, and sometimes unable to give what you need. And instead of resenting them for it, you turn back to Allah, the one who never falls short. This is why those who grow close to Allah often appear strong even when alone. Their strength does not come from having many friends or constant attention. It comes from knowing they are seen, heard, and valued by the most merciful. Their hearts find comfort in prayer. Their worries soften in remembrance. Their loneliness fades in prostration. And here's the beautiful part. When Allah becomes your closest companion, He sends the right people into your life at the right time, not to replace Him, but to complement the peace He has already placed within you. These relationships feel lighter, healthier, and more sincere because they are no longer built on neediness, but on mutual respect and shared values. So if you feel alone today, turn inward and upward. Strengthen your relationship with Allah before searching for companionship in creation. SP, speak to Him often. Trust Him fully. Walk with Him daily. Because once Allah becomes your closest companion, you realize something powerful. You were never truly alone to begin with. A woman's worth is not measured by how many friends she has, how many people check on her, or how often she is invited into social circles. Yet in a world that constantly equates popularity with value, it is easy to believe that being alone means being unimportant. But this belief is far from the truth. Your worth was written by Allah long before anyone formed an opinion about you. It was written when He created you with intention, dignity, and purpose. Many women silently carry the weight of comparison. They watch others surrounded by friends, laughing in groups, sharing moments, and they begin to question themselves. What's wrong with me? They ask. But the absence of people in your life does not indicate a lack of value. Sometimes it indicates depth. Not everyone is meant for the crowd. Some hearts are too sincere, too thoughtful, too sensitive for shallow connections. And that is not a weakness, it is a gift. Your value does not rise or fall based on how many people choose you. If that were the case, then even the most righteous people would be considered unworthy, because many of them walked alone for long periods of their lives. True worth is not something people can give you or take away. It comes from your character, your intentions, your faith, and your relationship with Allah. And these are things that often grow best in quiet spaces. A woman who stands alone is often misunderstood. People assume she is distant, difficult, or unlikable. But many times, she is simply selective. She values peace over noise, sincerity over popularity, and depth over numbers. She refuses to shrink herself just to fit into places where she does not belong. That strength may look like loneliness from the outside, but inside it is dignity. It is also important to remember that people come into our lives for different reasons and seasons. Some are meant to stay briefly, others to teach lessons, and a few to walk alongside us for longer. But none of them define us. If everyone left tomorrow, your worth would remain unchanged. Because your worth is not attached to their presence, it is rooted in who you are before Allah. When a woman understands this, she stops chasing validation. She stops questioning her value based on who stays and who leaves. She begins to walk with confidence, knowing that she does not need to be surrounded to be significant. She knows that Allah sees her efforts, her patience, her quiet struggles, and her silent strength. And the truth is, when you stop measuring yourself by others, you start living more freely. You make choices that honor your peace. You protect your heart. You grow closer to Allah. And in that closeness, you find a sense of worth that no friendship could ever provide. So if you are a woman with few or no friends, do not let the world convince you that you are lacking. You are not behind. You are not forgotten. You are not unworthy. You are simply walking a path that requires strength, patience, and trust in Allah. And that in itself is something deeply beautiful. Solitude is often misunderstood as something negative, something to escape from, something to fear. But in reality, solitude can be one of the greatest gifts Allah gives to a person. When life becomes quiet and the crowd disappears, something remarkable happens. You finally begin to hear your own heart. And in that quiet, Allah begins to work on you in ways that noise never allows. In moments of solitude, you are given the space to reflect, to breathe, and to reconnect with yourself and with Allah. There are no distractions, no expectations to perform, no pressure to please anyone. It is just you and your thoughts, you and your prayers, you and your Creator. And that space, though uncomfortable at first, becomes a place of healing. Wounds that were ignored begin to surface. Tears that were held back finally fall. And with each moment of honesty, the heart becomes lighter. Solitude also teaches you who you truly are. When no one is watching, when no one is applauding or criticizing, you discover your real character. You learn what brings you peace, what drains you, what strengthens your faith, and what weakens it. You begin to understand your limits, your needs, and your values. This self-awareness is powerful because it allows you to make better choices and form healthier relationships in the future. Many people fear being alone because it forces them to face emotions they have been avoiding. But healing cannot happen without facing what hurts. Solitude gives you the chance to process pain instead of burying it under distractions. It allows you to let go of resentment, forgive quietly, and rebuild yourself from within. And through that process, Allah gently replaces your pain with wisdom and strength. There is also a unique closeness to Allah that develops in solitude. When you are alone, your prayers become more sincere. You speak to Him without filters or fear of judgment. You pour your heart out in ways you never could in front of others. In those moments, you realize that Allah has always been near, waiting for you to turn to Him. The loneliness that once felt heavy begins to feel sacred. Solitude prepares you for what is to come. It refines your character, strengthens your patience, and deepens your faith. It teaches you to be content without constant validation. And when the right people eventually enter your life, you meet them as a whole person, not someone seeking to be completed by others. Growth often happens in silence. Seeds grow underground before they ever break through the surface. In the same way, Allah often grows His servants in quiet seasons, away from attention and applause. What feels like isolation may actually be preparation. What feels like emptiness may be the space needed for something beautiful to grow. So if you find yourself alone, do not rush to escape it. Embrace it with trust. Use it to draw closer to Allah, to heal, to learn, and to strengthen your heart. Because solitude, when guided by faith, is not a punishment. It is a powerful step toward becoming the person Allah created you to be. Allah never takes something away without wisdom, even when it feels painful or unfair. When something leaves your life, a person, a friendship, a phase you were attached to, it is easy to assume that who have lost something irreplaceable. But in reality, Allah never removes without intending to replace, and what He replaces it with is always better for your heart, your faith, and your future, even if you do not understand it immediately. Sometimes the replacement does not come in the same form. You may lose a friend but gain peace. You may lose companionship but gain clarity. You may lose comfort but gain strength. And although the heart initially mourns what is gone, with time you begin to realize that what was removed was weighing you down more than you knew. Allah in His mercy lightens your load before you even realize you are struggling. It is human to hold tightly to what feels familiar. We grow attached to people, routines, and emotions, even when they are no longer good for us. But Allah sees beyond the moment. He sees what will harm you later. He sees what will slow your growth, and out of His love for you, He gently, or sometimes firmly, removes it, not to hurt you, but to protect you from pain you cannot yet see. Often, What Allah replaces is not something visible. It may be a sense of peace in your heart. It may be a deeper connection with Him. It may be emotional maturity, patience, or self-respect. These gifts are far more valuable than the things we often beg to hold on to. But we only recognize their worth after we have healed. There are moments when you look back and realize that what you once cried over was actually a turning point. The loss that broke you was the very thing that pushed you closer to Allah. The door that closed forced you to walk a different path, one that led to growth, stability, and clarity. At the time, it felt like rejection. Later, it revealed itself as redirection. Allah's replacements are not always immediate, and that is where trust is tested. The waiting period can feel heavy. You may wonder why nothing new has appeared yet. But Allah does not rush His plans. He prepares you before He blesses you. He heals you before He replaces what was lost. Because if He gave you something new too quickly, you might carry old wounds into it. And when the replacement finally comes, you often realize something remarkable. You no longer desire what you once begged for. Your heart has changed. Your standards have risen. Your understanding has deepened. What once seemed essential now feels unnecessary. This is the mercy of Allah at work. So when something leaves your life, do not chase it. Do not beg for it to return. Trust that Allah knows what He is doing. Trust that He is writing a better story for you than the one you are trying to hold on to. What He removes is never greater than what He is preparing for you, because Allah is not in the business of taking without giving. He is in the business of replacing what hurts you with what heals you, in His perfect time and in His perfect way. As this reminder comes to an end, remember this above all else: your life is not defined by who walks beside you, but by who walks with you. Loneliness is not a sign of failure, nor is it proof that something is missing in you. Sometimes it is simply a quiet season where Allah is shaping your heart, strengthening your faith, and teaching you to rely on Him alone. Every moment of solitude, every tear, every unanswered question is seen by Him and recorded with meaning. You were never created to be validated by people. You were created to know Allah, to grow through trials, and to find peace in trusting His plan. What feels empty today may be the very space Allah is preparing to fill with something far greater than you imagined. Until that time comes, walk with patience, hold on to your dignity, and trust that nothing in your life is random or wasted. If you feel alone, remember this: Allah is closer to than anyone else ever could be. He understands your silence, your struggles, and your strength. And when the time is right, He will replace your loneliness with peace, your questions with clarity, and your waiting with blessings that make you realize you were never forgotten, only being prepared. Thank you, everyone.